All right, everybody. Thank you very much for coming and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Let Americans Choose Clean Energy webinar. My name is Alex Yankowski, and I'm the associate of the Campaign for 100% Renewable Energy at Environment America. And I'm delighted to be emceeing today's event. So I just wanted to do a quick introduction of a little bit more about Environment America and the work that we're doing. So if I could get the next slide, please. So Environment America is a national network of 30 state environmental groups, and our staff work together for clean air, clean water, clean energy, wildlife and open spaces, and a livable climate. Our members across the United States put grassroots support behind our research and our advocacy, and we envision a greener America. So, one that protects more places where nature can thrive, offer us and our children a greater opportunity to live healthier, more enriching lives. And so, through our research, public education, advocacy, litigation, and action, we advance policies and practices that put our country and our world on a better path. And so, today's webinar, and so next slide, please. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll share a recording of this first section of the webinar on our website, and then also via email with everyone that RSVP'd to this event. So our goal for this event is to educate you all about our campaign, Let Americans Choose Clean Energy. And by running through the background and the goals of our campaign, we will then talk a little bit about why citizen action really, really matters and how it really makes a difference. And we'll split you up into regional breakout rooms where our state and national staff with around a cumulative 140 years of advocacy experience will run our letter to the editor workshop and give you the opportunity to interact and ask questions and really help you make the largest impact possible. So for the question and answer portion in our breakout rooms, we ask that you use your raise hand function on Zoom, and then you'll be called upon and be allowed to unmute and ask your small group leaders your questions. So really, without further ado, I'd love to quickly introduce our Executive Director of Environment America, Lisa Frank. Lisa leads Environment America's work for a greener, healthier world. She also directs our Washington, D.C. office and its operations. She's a pragmatic idealist, and Lisa has helped win billions of dollars in investment in clean energy, transportation, and develop strategic campaigns to protect America's oceans, forests, and public lands. So she's originally from Oregon, but now based out of the Capital Region. So Lisa, take it away.
Thanks so much, Alex. And great to see all of you here. Let's go to the next slide. So I'm excited to share more with you all about our campaign to let Americans choose clean energy. But before I get into the details, I just wanted to share a little bit about why some of the reasons I've chosen some different clean energy things in my own life. So 2 years ago, I moved a little bit outside DC, and so decided it was time to get a car after mostly getting around by biking, walking, and taking transit in the district. And the first car I had owned a few years ago in Florida got like maybe 22 miles per gallon of gas. It was pretty expensive and a hassle. And so the idea of getting an electric vehicle where I could avoid all of that air pollution and all of those trips to the gas station was a real winner. I also focused on why I was choosing to get a car after not having one for many years. And part of it was, just to make it easier to get groceries and go to Home Depot. The other two reasons, though, were that I would like to have children in the future. And I wanted to make it much easier for myself to get into nature, to go hiking in Shenandoah and visit some of the other amazing natural areas around the DC area. And because of those two values, it was really important to me to have a vehicle that wasn't contributing to air pollution that would harm, myself and future generations or pollute the special places that I was visiting. So I went searching for an electric vehicle and found a great used EV, a Hyundai Kona, in case anyone's looking, and was able to also get a $4,000 federal tax credit for that used electric vehicle, which brought it into my budget. And it's been a great experience ever since. The other clean energy thing that we just did recently is we knew that we wanted to go solar at our home, both to do something good for the environment and to save on utility bills. Our original plan was to wait until our 25-year-old roof gave out, and we need to replace it. But we started ahead of time browsing on Energy Sage, which is a site where you can calculate your home's solar potential and how much it would likely cost you to go solar. And from that research, we learned going solar would actually save us more than $30,000 over the lifetime of the system. So we changed our plans to instead try to go solar as soon as possible. We replaced the old roof in November, got the panels up earlier this year, and they're working really well, producing more energy than we use. And we were fortunate to find a place. Our house is pretty old, but even with that, many of the appliances were already electric. So that solar power is powering almost everything in the house, including the car. And the part that makes me almost the most excited is two of our neighbors have already asked us about going solar too, and whether I thought it was working well for them. So let's go to the next slide, and I want to share a little more about our campaign to let Americans choose clean energy, just like we've been fortunate to do. As many of you know, millions of Americans are going solar to free themselves from utility bills and live more sustainably. People are also taking advantage of new efficient technology like heat pumps and electric vehicles to save on gas. If you're someone who's taken action yourself to make your home a clean energy home, first, thank you. But even if you haven't, all of us are benefiting quite a bit from the people who are making these choices. So first, our health. Pollution from burning fossil fuels used to be responsible for more than 1 in 10 deaths in the United States each year. That's more than 350,000 total deaths as recently as 2018. As more people switch to clean energy and electric vehicles, we all gain healthier air, which means fewer asthma attacks, heart disease, and premature deaths. Another reason to make these switches right is freedom and independence. If you're producing your own power on your roof, you're freed from high utility bills. That if you had a battery, you can keep the lights on in a storm. And whether or not you have solar, EVs will save you trips to the gas station. All of these switches also help the overall grid be more resilient so that it can better serve other people in the community. And lastly, while early adopters of clean energy technologies often are paying a lot upfront to make this switch, the more people who choose clean energy, the cheaper it gets for everyone over time. A good example of this is the per watt cost of residential solar panels has fallen by about 70% in the last 20 years. So that's a big benefit to all of us. And then the problem I'd say is, though, while millions of Americans are interested in making these switches, whether that's going solar or just making your home more energy efficient, upfront costs remain a barrier to choosing clean energy. Rooftop solar can cost upwards of $20,000. A battery backup runs between $8,500 and $10,000. And highly efficient electric heat pumps to heat and cool your home can be a few $1,000s more than the less efficient gas models on the market. So let's go to the next slide. So the solution here, we think it makes a lot of sense to make it easier for more Americans to choose clean energy. The less energy we use, the more we save, and power from the sun and wind doesn't pollute, never runs out, and shows up for free. So why on earth wouldn't we use it? And this is why federal clean energy tax incentives are so important. They can take 30% off the cost of going solar. They can save you $2,000 on a heat pump, and many more tax credits are available. And in 2023, the first year these programs came online, 3.4 million Americans use these programs for clean energy or energy efficiency home improvements, altogether saving more than $8 billion. So Environment America is working to protect all of these clean energy tax credits through the next decade so that people can continue to choose clean energy when they want to. The challenge is, right now, Congress is working on new budget legislation, and there are many members in Congress that want to cut these clean energy tax credits in that bill, either because they prefer other kinds of energy or they just worry about the expense. We are working to show them that these tax credits are good for Americans, good for all of us, and popular to encourage members of Congress not to cut clean energy. It's the same strategy we used to pass the tax credits in the first place. And so some of the things that we're doing to show members of Congress that Americans want the ability to choose clean energy is taking members on tours of churches and wineries and all sorts of other facilities that have gone solar and sharing with them the benefits of that transition. We're meeting directly with members of Congress and their staff to educate them about clean energy growth in their state. For example, this is Congresswoman Bonamici of Oregon, and I was able to share with her that clean energy, that solar in particular, in my home state had grown more than 2,000% over the last decade, despite all of the rain. And then we're also using people's personal stories, including, I imagine, from some of you, to share why clean energy is important to you and why it matters, and then earning media coverage to get more attention on these issues. All of this is starting to have a pretty big impact here in Washington, D.C. More than 20 members of the House of Representatives, Republicans, wrote to their leadership recently, urging them not to cut the clean energy tax credits. And a set of 4 senators just followed up with their own letter to the same effect in support of not wholesale repealing all of the clean energy tax credits. That's enough members in each chamber that if they stick with us on this issue, we'll be able to save all of these programs. So I'll say all of this work is really having an impact, and we need to keep it up. Let's go to the next slide. And all of your voices can make a big difference on this issue in a few ways. First, right, certainly directly adopting clean energy yourself has an impact right now on the planet. Thank you for doing that. Second, you can expand your impact by sharing your own story of what you chose to do at your home and why and how it's working for you. These can be pretty big decisions, so it really helps to hear from other people that have made the switch. I know in my own family, I was the 3rd person in the family to get an electric vehicle, and 2 more did recently after we made the choice. And it was really important to them to both like drive around in our car and see what it was like, and also take some of the spreadsheets that I had gotten from someone else, so, to learn more about the different options available. All of us have really different states, climates, driving habits, politics, but there were electric, vehicles that worked well for each of us. And then the last thing, which we're going to work on today together, is using your own voice to inspire elected officials. The margins in Congress right now are extremely tight, and these programs, these clean energy programs, are popular. That means we can have a huge impact, right? Your elected officials are going to be paying really close attention to what people in their state or district are saying about clean energy and using that to guide their decision making. But they're also going to be hearing from, people who don't care about these issues or who oppose us on these issues. So it's extra important that they hear from you. And let's go to the next slide. So the specific way we're going to do this is through letters to the editor. We'll run workshops run by a group of Environment America's state directors and other staff to learn how to write a great letter to the editor. I'd love to first just ask people who here has read letters to the editor. You can just post in the chat. Right. So letters to the editor are really important for a few reasons. One is it can get your view on an issue in front of thousands, or depending on the paper, perhaps even millions of people. Even as newspaper readership has declined, letters to the editor remain one of the most read sections of the paper because people want to hear what other people, normal people in their area think about the issues. A letter also gives you a way to engage in important news and debates in your area, to share contrasting views or back up points you agree with from recent stories. And the news media really likes getting this kind of feedback from people, both, criticizing a point that they made and sharing a new take, or adding on with some new perspective on an issue. And then lastly, decision makers read and act on letters to the editor, because again, they're paying a lot of attention to what do people in their state or in their district think about the issues, what's on people's minds, what problems should they be solving, and a letter is a great way to communicate that. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Alex to talk us through our next steps here to learn how to write letters to the editor.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And thank you very much for introducing the campaign and all the important work that we're doing to try to protect the clean energy tax credits. And as Lisa mentioned, letters to the editor are an important part of the Citizens Action Toolkit. And we'll now split up into regional groups where our staff will run through our letter to the editor training. And there you'll be given the opportunity to ask questions and engage with our experienced staff members. So I will shortly open up breakout rooms. When I do, please find your state group in the title. Where there are going to be large groups of states, so feel free to join your the group that has your state in it. Um, and and then we'll engage in our letter to the editor training. So we will conclude this webinar in the small groups. And so I did want to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming and wish you the best of luck in writing your letters to the editor. And I will now open up the breakout rooms.